The urge toward escape is a powerful gravity, pulling us not to a specific location, but to the removal of feeling itself. It is the instinct that suggests any current arrangement of job, relationship, or mere self is fundamentally wrong and must be jettisoned. We spend so much time architecting exits, building contingency plans for lives we are perpetually attempting to outrun. This constant calculation of departure tells us something vital about our understanding of stability itself. Why do we assume that the life worth staying in is one that feels effortless, or at least dramatically different from what exists now? The deep philosophical stake here is this: we treat reality as a problem to be solved by relocation, when perhaps it is more accurately conceived as material for practice. A fundamental misunderstanding of permanence dictates a continuous state of dissatisfaction. Building a life you do not want to escape is therefore not an act of radical revolution. It is the slow, disciplined work of acknowledging what already sustains you. We begin with the classical understanding of endurance, particularly in Stoicism. The core idea is that suffering rarely comes from external events, losing money, failing a test, or betrayal, but from our judgment of those events. Epictetus taught that we should distinguish sharply between what belongs to us and what does not. Our opinions, our judgments, our intentions, these are internal reserves entirely under our control. The things outside of that inner citadel, the market, the favor of a boss, the decisions of others, are merely indifferent inputs. To build a life you do not want to escape means establishing this boundary, recognizing that most human anxiety is misdirected energy spent trying to control the uncontrollable, perpetually setting up false battles against fate. This recognition shifts our focus from grand gestures toward micro-commitments. If we are always chasing the next perfect thing, the new city, the better title, the more profound connection, we treat life like a scavenger hunt where satisfaction is only ever located just beyond the reach of our current grasp. This pursuit leads to what the existentialists might call bad faith, living according to expectations rather than self-chosen reality. To live in good faith is to stop viewing life as something that must happen to you, but instead as something that requires continuous composition by your attention. It demands a radical acceptance of the here and the now, not as immutable facts, but as temporary stages set for the next act of conscious engagement. But this adherence to the present is often misunderstood as mere resignation, a quiet surrender to mediocrity or discomfort. This is where the central complication arises. True stability is never comfortable. It is always an active negotiation with friction. The self that has merely accepted its circumstances without resistance is paralyzed. We are tempted to mistake acceptance for passivity, believing that if we stop fighting against what is, we will cease to be agents of change. This misunderstanding ignores the immense power inherent in disciplined presence. It requires us to treat our immediate reality, the messy office, the difficult conversation, the routine chore, not as an obstacle course leading to a grand escape, but as the very material from which meaning must be carved out. The greatest struggle is not against the world outside, but against the deeply ingrained human habit of narrating one's own life as purely reactive. The goal then becomes cultivating what Seneca called inner freedom, a state that is self-sufficient regardless of external fortune. It means realizing that you do not need a radically different environment to feel wholly alive. You only need a reorganized relationship with your own limits and the limitations of time. You must learn to find points of friction, discomfort, or boredom, and instead of planning an escape route around them, you are compelled to linger in them, to sit down at the messy wooden table and actually engage with the reality of the meal being served. This sustained attention transforms what was merely background noise into meaningful data. When we revisit that initial gravity, that powerful pull toward removal, we see now its true source. The yearning for escape is not a desire to be somewhere else. It is fundamentally a longing to exit the responsibility of ongoing participation, the weight of being fully present in a complex and imperfect moment. We mistake exhaustion for meaninglessness. But sustained life is inherently effortful. It requires showing up again and again, even when the current arrangement feels profoundly insufficient. The only definitive way out is usually by walking through the very place you are trying to leave.